Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jay and I'm a terminally online historian who reads way too much news and has too much opinions about it. And I'd like to share my thoughts to you. Sorry about missing last week. I had a family thing which pretty much took up most of the weekend, but I'm back and talk about some things that are happening or continuing to happen that I think are important and you need to be aware of. And this week we are going to start with the Supreme Court hearings on the tariffs that occurred this week. And this is just not my opinion. I've also getting opinions, seen a lot of other opinions, legal opinions, especially from Ben Meiselas of Midas Touch, as well as Michael Popak of Legal AF, and it after the oral arguments, it does not look good for Trump and the Trump regime with the tariffs. Gorsuch, Justices Gorsuch and Barrett really drilled into the Solicitor General John Sauer, who sadly is from my state of Missouri, and is you're barely able to hear. I mean, his voice is just as gravelly as RFK Jr., but that's beside the point. But Gorsuch, Barrett, the liberals, and to some extent Chief Justice Roberts came across as very skeptical of the legality of the executive branch unilaterally issuing tariffs. They even got the Solicitor General to admit that tariffs were taxes. And Chief Justice Roberts on record say that Americans are paying these tariffs for the most part and not foreign country. So at this stage, it looks like Gorsuch and Barrett are going to side with the liberals to overturn the tariffs. Possibly Roberts. So we're looking at most likely either a 5-4 or 6-3 decision against the tariffs in the Trump regime. Now, the biggest hurdle is going to be the disgorgement and slash reimbursement of the collected tariffs to date and the enforcement of that decision. So with enforcement, I expect once that decision comes down, corporate America is just not going to turn over any so-called tariff revenue to the IRS, um, no matter how hard the White House tries to force them. But at the same time, that may also force MAGA, if the shutdown isn't over, to come back to Congress to try and get a tariff bill in place just to appease Trump. But I'm not sure the votes are there anymore, especially in the House with Marjorie Taylor Greene kind of going on this very, very populist bent and being very much opposed to some of the things that MAGA is trying to do. And also, I don't think that there's the votes in the Senate to do it, especially with midterms coming up. Some of those senators are trying to preserve, um, basically save themselves and try and get as much of the vote as they can so they can get reelected and stay in power. Speaking of government shutdown, that is still going down. It is now the longest in American history. The previous longest shutdown in American history was 7 years ago in 2018. Again, with a GOP controlled House, a GOP controlled Senate, and Donald Trump was the president. What's very concerning now is, as of last night, Friday, November the 7th, very late, this came out very late, the Supreme Court had bowed to President Trump's desire to freeze SNAP benefits until the case can work its way through the court system. So this is going to be, unfortunately, affecting 42 million Americans who are eligible for these SNAP benefits. And so I'm actually using this as a call of action. So if you got shelf stable food, get that to your local food bank or food pantry. You can't do food, but you got money, give them money. They need it. They need to be able to buy food for stuff. I'm here in Columbia, Missouri, so I definitely highly recommend getting a hold of the food bank of Central and Northeast Missouri, as they're always needing stuff, not just to send out to the various smaller pantries across Central and Northeast Missouri, but also for their food pantry grocery store on Business Loop 70. So they definitely need food. I will be actually helping out with a food share program at the Center Project, which serves the LGBTQ community in Central Missouri, is going to be holding starting tomorrow, November, or today actually, tomorrow as I record this, November the 9th through the 12th, as well as from November 14th and 15th, please drop off any shelf-stable items you have at the Center Project at 805 Fairview Avenue. We'd be happy to take it and get it to folks in need. And if you are in need of food because your SNAP benefits have been pretty much taken away, we are not next weekend, but the weekend following, the weekend of November 22nd and 23rd. Please stop by the Center Project and we'd be happy to help you out and get you what you need. As my family's in Kansas City, the biggest organization there is going to be Harvesters. So if you got shelf stable food, get that to them as quickly as you can. And also, if money's better, do that as well. For those of you who may be watching that are not in mid Missouri or in Kansas City, please Google your local food bank or charity that handles this type of food distribution. They need all the help they can get right now. And if you're just in a very small community that doesn't really have that, but you still want to donate money, Jose Andres' World Central Kitchen is doing a lot of work to try and get folks um, the food they need. And also keep an ear out for restaurants and chains that are giving out discounted meals and whatnot. So please try and support them. I read this morning that Carl's Jr.'s and some Carl's Jr.'s in the Los Angeles, California area, as well as the Inland Empire, will be offering a kid's size burger, fry, and drink meal to affected folks for $1 per meal. So please support those franchisees that are doing that, as they definitely are going to be taking a bit of a profit hit because there's no way you can provide that all that for less than $1 per, with people only paying $1. So please go and visit those restaurants that are providing these. Just show them that, and when you do, say you're there because you appreciate that they're helping out the community and making sure that people don't go hungry. And moving on, it has been a bit since I've last spoken about Ukraine, but just a couple of quick important updates. Ukraine is continuing their strikes on the Russia's oil infrastructure. It's actually getting to the point that while vast majority of 38 refineries have been hit at least once, now they're starting to see that refineries are getting hit a second, third, fourth, or even fifth time. And it seems like there's some very, very good intelligence work being done by the Ukrainians because these um, secondary attacks and so forth, with all these refineries being attacked again, they're typically coming within a couple of days of that refinery getting some production back up and running. And so that's actually good that Ukraine is just trying to take them out as quick as they get back online, is that's going to just, like I've mentioned in previous videos, that's going to just exhaust whatever supplies and parts that Russia has in reserve, and then once they run out of those, they have to rely on China to get inferior parts. And more importantly, this past Sunday, November 1st, the three primary, or excuse me, last Saturday, November 1st, the three primary pipelines that service the Moscow in Moscow Oblast, they were destroyed. So that is affecting the Russians being able to get fuel to their military, because that's where a lot of the fuel would be distributed from, was one of those pipelines. It's also a main domestic pipeline for oil or gas and diesel and getting into Moscow itself. So while it's still early to see what the long-term ramifications of this are, that is kind of a big deal. And finally, uh, also a big deal. On the 6th, this past Wednesday, Ukraine has attacked the main Russian drone facility, which launches drone missiles against the Ukrainians in Donetsk, which is part of the Donbass region in southeast Ukraine. So Ukraine is claiming that 1,000 Shahed drones were destroyed. As of right now, there is no confirmation of this report from the Russians, but I also don't expect them to uh, confirm anything. They're probably just going to deny. But if this is true, this is actually a huge blow to Russia's drone strategy, as they're at the point where they can't produce drones domestically fast enough, and they're actually relying on the Iranians, which is why the drones have a very Farsi sounding name with Shahid. Uh, so, yeah, this is probably going to be a major blow if it's confirmed that it was 1,000 drones that were taken out in this strike. But regardless, ever since that strike has happened, I haven't seen as many drone attacks against civilians, and it's mostly been more targeted, which means there is a serious issue with the drone supply that the Russians have at this stage. Well, with that said, a bit of a shorter one this week, but a very important things. I hope you like this. Please share this with someone you think is interested. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And if you're going to comment, please be kind to everyone. And most importantly, please reach out to your local food bank and food pantry and try to get food to those who need it, as there are 42 million Americans who are going to be struggling until something happens with the government shutdown to get food into their bellies. So please do that. And of course, if you don't have anything locally or don't feel comfortable with whoever the local organization is, please check out World Central Kitchen. And with that, I will be back next week and we'll discuss more things. And hopefully, we can get people, hopefully, government can get food in people's bellies by next week. And until then, I will see you next week. Bye bye.